The truth is, to understand where we're going, we have to understand who we are.
Advancing freedom is a major goal of the Heritage Foundation.
As individuals, as a society, a people who won't just settle for the status quo, a nation based on the principles of free enterprise, individual freedom, traditional values, and a strong national defense. That's why, in a world that tries our beliefs and tests our resolve,
Can't wait for an increasingly dysfunctional Congress.
we need an organization that's committed to unassailable intellectual integrity and dedicated to help the American people hold their government accountable. An organization that's not afraid to proclaim that truth is truth, that conservatism is a lie, and that no government should control the lives of the people it serves. An organization that's always innovating and will never stop fighting for the next American dream. And yet, will never forsake our timeless heritage that defines the American people and has made America the land of the free.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Jim DeMint, President of the Heritage Foundation.
Wow. Isn't it wonderful to be here with so many patriots from all around the country? Thank you. Now, in my travels across the country, I have the pleasure to meet with thousands of patriots from all walks of life. I met one of them a few weeks ago in Florida I want to tell you about. His name is Bill. He turns 90 years old this year. He was born when Calvin Coolidge was president. He lived through the worst of the Great Depression, World War II, many other wars and recessions. He can hardly hear or see, but he has a positive attitude about life. He wanted me to see the Christmas card that he sent out last year. It was a book. It was bigger than most church directories because he has 93 children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He also wanted me to see a picture of all of them with the Pope at the Vatican. He said when the Pope saw them all grouped together for the picture with him, all he said was, "I don't have to ask if you're Catholic." This is a neat part of the story. Every year, Bill gives his family one word to use every time someone says, "How are you doing?" A question we're all asked many times every day. Last year, the word Bill gave his family was grateful. So all through the year, thousands of times, literally all around the world, when people ask, "How are you doing?" all 93 of them said, "I'm grateful." Grateful for the warmth of family, grateful for the company of friends, grateful for the kindness of strangers, grateful to live in the freest and most prosperous nation the world has ever known. All year long, yeah, let's hear it for you. All year long, this grateful spirit cheered hearts of everyone who came in contact with all his children and grandchildren. It certainly warmed my heart. And as Bill was talking, it made me wonder, when my grandchildren are grown, will they still be grateful for the country? Will America still be worried or still be earning the right of its citizens to be grateful? You know, each year another piece of the masonry falls of these things that we care about and we're grateful for in our lives. And things like jobs and security, religious liberty, hope, and even love. Now, you might think it's strange for me to say that we're losing something abstract like love. The federal government might tax and regulate a lot of things, but they haven't yet said that love causes global warming or obesity. Not yet. So let me explain what I'm talking about. More than 200 years ago, the British philosopher and statesman Edmund Burke, who was an early friend of the American Revolution, hit upon what really makes love of country possible. In his words, to be attached to the subdivision, to love the little platoon we belong to in society, is the first principle of public affection. It is the first link in the series by which we proceed towards a love to country and to mankind. I've thought about this idea a lot. In fact, I've written a book about it. What Burke calls public affections, the bonds that connect us to a home, a community, a state, a country, to a people, they don't exist because some political bullies in the administration or the Congress mandates them. They come instead from the links we share with all the little platoons in our lives. A family, a church, a local charity, a middle school soccer team, a PTA, a small business we work for. It is through our investment and loyalty in these small institutions and their investment and loyalty to us that we have affection for our communities, our fellow citizens, and it sustains our love for America, the country that makes it all possible. Little platoons actually inspire and empower us as individuals to make a difference in the world around us. They encourage and channel the inclinations to develop not only our full potential and serve others, but they begin to create that public affection and patriotism. But let's think about it for a minute. What happens if the top brass in a big central government begins to replace and disband these little platoons in our lives? What happens when decisions are made from the top down instead of the bottom up? What happens when politicians begin telling us what to believe and how to live? What happens when we depend on big government to solve our problems instead of ourselves? What happens? We know what happens. You can see it all around us. An economy that languishes. Opportunities disappear. Problems get worse. And instead of a sense of unity and love for our fellow Americans, we feel divided and even angry with those whose views are being forced down our throats. Only about 10% of Americans have any faith in Congress. The majority of us say that the country is on the wrong track. And a large majority of young Americans no longer believe that the American dream is attainable. And this generation may be the first Americans in history who are worse off than their parents. What is happening in our country is enough to frustrate and depress even the most optimistic Americans. Many have simply checked out of the public debate altogether. And who can blame them? You know, politics, supposedly the art of achieving the highest common good for our republic, has become a bludgeon to replace little platoons and individual decision-making with one-size-fits-all solutions that don't fit anyone. When power is taken from individuals and the little platoons and concentrated in Washington, the fundamental building blocks of our public service and our public affection crumbles. And so government dependence replaces community support and self-reliance. Handouts replace hand-ups. Resentment replaces love of country. The brilliance of the American founding and the freedoms that came with it allowed many people with different backgrounds and beliefs to call this land home, living in harmony while preserving their different beliefs and ways of life. Each family and community could govern itself according to its own needs and traditions, within the splendid framework of freedom and equality provided by the Constitution. But when so many different viewpoints and lifestyles are forced into one mold, the free market of ideas becomes a tyranny over our hearts and minds. Coercion replaces freedom. When the beliefs, needs, and wants of others are forced on us by government, our fellow countrymen become objects of resentment instead of affection. And when our own government uses tax collectors to target citizens because we're concerned about out-of-control government growth, spending, and debt, or when individuals are forced to pay for the taking of human life, or when small businesses are sued and fined because they refuse to participate in activities that violate their deeply held religious beliefs, or when our children are forced into failing schools with no other choice, or when we feel like our voices are no longer heard or even wanted by our representatives in Congress, our love for America and our fellow citizens is strained. None of us here today have fallen out of love with the American dream, American ideals, America's little platoons, or the American vision of a free world. But most of us have fallen out of love with a political system that favors special interest rather than the common man. A broken system that is tearing down the America we love. The only way for us to change our government is for we the people to remember that the solutions to America's problems will not come from Washington, but from the little platoons all around us that must be freed from the one-size-fits-all federal government straitjacket. Americans will unite around core ideas of our founding and our success. You know them, the ideas of free enterprise, limited government, individual freedom, traditional values, a strong national defense. These are the conservative ideas that built a strong America and can once again unite us. This unity can be achieved through the original constitutional idea of federalism that focuses the federal government on maintaining security through a strong defense while moving dollars and decisions for many government functions back to the states, the communities, and to the people. And when Washington stops trying to direct all aspects of our lives, Americans will fall in love with each other and their country. If we let states compete for the best schools, the best health care, the best transportation system, the best ways to develop energy resources, the best tax and tort systems, this competition will revive our economy, expand opportunities, increase upward mobility, and build an opportunity society all across America. We see this competition and innovation working in school choice in Louisiana, in Florida, and other states. A booming economy from energy development in North Dakota. Lower taxes and regulations in Texas are creating many more businesses. And worker freedom in Wisconsin and Michigan and other states are attracting new businesses and economic development. These are our ideas that work. America is the greatest, most prosperous, and most compassionate nation in the history of the world because we are different than any other country in the history of the world. Our success comes from the ground up, not the top down. Our strength comes from individuals in a vast army of little platoons that constantly sustain and revive us. This is what creates in our hearts the powerful love of country that brings us all together today. So I challenge you, my friends, join me in falling in love with America again and again and again. Thank you, and God bless. Thanks, folks.